Folk beliefs. With this episode, we launch a series of popular science videos about Ukrainian folklore titled The Magical World of Ukrainian Folklore. Folk beliefs are one of the most relevant areas of study in contemporary European folkloristics. After all, beliefs are an inseparable part of a people's collective consciousness and are present, in one way or another, in various folklore works. Folk beliefs include what are commonly referred to as superstitions. However, folklorists avoid using this term due to its negative connotations, and instead consider superstitions a part of broader belief systems. As the American ethnologist John Wesley Powell wrote in 1900, "When we begin to study superstitions and treat them as a subject of science, we no longer call them superstitions, but folklore." Folk beliefs can be likened to a kind of backdrop that forms the foundation for the plots, symbolism, and meaning of folklore works and rituals. Therefore, before delving into myths, legends, fairy tales, songs, and other genres of Ukrainian folklore, we decided it's worth exploring what our folk beliefs entail. Hello, I'm Nick Lisitsky. This is The Magical World of Ukrainian Folklore, a popular science series for those who want to learn more about Ukrainian culture and identity. Let's start with some interesting facts. Fact 1. Although Christianity is the dominant religion in Ukraine today, pre-Christian beliefs still have a significant influence on the worldview, traditions, and culture of Ukrainians. Fact 2. A distinctive feature of Ukrainian folk beliefs is syncretism, the blending of Christianity with the ancient worldview of our people. Fact 3. The cult of ancestors has long been associated with a significant portion of mythological imagery, traditions, and rituals in Ukraine, and these persist to this day. Fact 4. Ukrainians are quite superstitious. This superstition is tied not only to ancient beliefs, but also to lived experiences preserved in the collective unconscious. Fact 5. Traces of the earliest forms of beliefs, dynamism, animism, totemism, and polytheism, are preserved in Ukrainian folklore, allowing us to continue studying them today. Do you agree with these facts? Perhaps you have your own thoughts. Share them in the comments. Since our videos are popular science, in the theoretical section, we will provide scientific definitions of key concepts, drawing from various sources, such as the Great Ukrainian Encyclopedia or the Encyclopedia of Modern Ukraine. According to the Great Ukrainian Encyclopedia, beliefs are a person's convictions in the validity of certain religious, mythological, or magical ideas, as well as superstitions and misconceptions rooted in everyday worldviews. The term folk beliefs is often used synonymously with traditional notions and superstitions formed based on the observations of many generations, customs, and rules that regulated daily life. As for superstitions, the encyclopedia defines them as a form of misconception where an individual accepts unknown forces as real, capable of predicting events or even influencing them. The history of Ukrainian folk beliefs spans thousands of years, dating back to prehistoric societies. Like the beliefs of other peoples worldwide, ours evolved gradually from dynamism, animism, totemism, and fetishism to polytheism and ultimately monotheism. According to some scholars, the first stage in the development of human beliefs was dynamism, the belief in supernatural forces that permeate everything, including the human body. This belief gave rise to customs and rituals related to specific body parts. For example, it was believed that frequent hair washing could harm its special powers. Persian kings washed their hair only on their birthdays, and Roman noblewomen did so on the day of the goddess Diana once a year. Now think back. Who did your mom or grandma tell not to wash their hair on Mondays or Sundays? Share in the comments if this prohibition surprised you, or if you still follow it. The next stage is animism. Animism is the belief in the existence of a soul, which later became a defining concept in world religions. In folk beliefs, notions of the soul are tied to beliefs in the supernatural power of dreams, various spirits inhabiting forests, fields, bodies of water, and homes, as well as the cult of ancestors. In Ukraine, the cult of ancestors is ancient and profoundly significant. It is connected to most traditions of our calendar and ritual holidays, which we'll discuss in a future episode. A natural consequence of animism was totemism, the belief in a supernatural connection between a clan or tribe and a specific animal, plant, or object. Totemism is linked to animal tales, beliefs in werewolves, and the ability to shapeshift, attributed in Ukraine to witches, sorcerers, and karakterniki, legendary figures with supernatural abilities. Various amulets, talismans, or the belief that certain objects possess special powers and can offer protection are tied to another form of ancient belief, fetishism. Finally, with the further development of society and human consciousness, belief in deities emerged. Initially, this was polytheism, the belief that the world is governed by many gods, each with specific powers or spheres of influence. Later came monotheism, the belief in a single god. The world's most well-known religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, are monotheistic. Unfortunately, much of what relates to ancient Ukrainian beliefs has been lost to time. We have no poetic works, like the Greek Theogony, or ritual texts, like the Egyptian Book of the Dead. What we know about the pre-Christian era comes from sparse chronicle mentions and research conducted in the 19th and 20th centuries. Perhaps the best characterization of our ancient beliefs comes from the renowned ethnographer and folklorist Volodymyr Hnatyuk. He noted that our ancient ancestors were pantheists in their beliefs. They believed the entire world, sky, air, and earth, was filled with gods, that all of nature was alive, full of wonders, and everything in it thought and spoke on equal terms with humans and gods. Christianity, introduced to Kievan Rus in 988, could not fully displace beliefs that were likely thousands of years old by then. As a result, a process of syncretism occurred, blending the new religion with pre-Christian beliefs, forming what is known as folk religion, which remains a defining feature of the Ukrainian worldview today. According to surveys, about 70% of Ukrainians identify as Christians. This might raise a valid question. Is it really worth discussing folk religion and the echoes of ancient beliefs as part of our modern worldview? Or are these merely curious artifacts of the past, myths and fairy tales that have long lost their significance and influence on society? A comprehensive answer to this question was provided in the mid-20th century by Ivan Ohienko, also known as Metropolitan Ilarion of the Ukrainian Greek Orthodox Church in Canada. The faith of a people lies at the core of its culture, and we cannot understand this culture without studying its folk beliefs. At the heart of these folk beliefs lies their pre-Christian faith. Knowing the pre-Christian beliefs of the Ukrainian people is crucial, as only by understanding them can we properly comprehend the current spiritual culture of this people. No one can fully and deeply understand the modern spiritual culture of the Ukrainian people without knowing their pre-Christian beliefs. We believe this statement remains relevant today. Folk beliefs represent the collective experience of a community, encompassing notions of the afterlife, the influence of invisible forces, the cult of ancestors, magic, liminal spaces, and rituals of transition. Ancient Ukrainian beliefs are closely intertwined with Christianity and are an essential element of folklore works. Not only myths or fairy tales, but also carols, shidrivki, New Year songs, vesnyanki, spring songs, and various rituals. Today, we often don't realize that many symbols or holiday traditions originate from the pre-Christian era. For example, Christmas is also a celebration of the birth of the new sun, symbolized by the Christmas star. The same applies to Easter, tied to the spring equinox, and Kupala night, linked to the summer solstice. Weddings and funerals also retain pre-Christian rituals at their core. We'll discuss Ukrainian holiday traditions and rituals in more detail in a special episode. So, if you're not subscribed to our channel, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss new, fascinating stories about the magical world of Ukrainian folklore. A significant element of Ukrainian folk beliefs is the cult of ancestors. For millennia, Ukrainians have maintained a symbolic connection with the deceased, seeing it not only as a moral duty, but also as a means of harmonizing life, ensuring well-being, and preserving tradition. In Ukrainian tradition, the afterlife is not an abstraction, but a space with which contact can be made. Beliefs include the notion of a thin boundary between worlds, especially during solstices, when it was believed that the souls of ancestors could return to Earth. This is why work was forbidden on these holidays, to avoid disturbing the spirits of ancestors visiting the living. Rusalki, water nymphs, Mavki, forest spirits, and Purichata, spirits of unbaptized children, are not just mythical creatures, but spirits of the deceased, to whom one must show proper respect. Finally, another element of Ukrainian folk beliefs worth noting is superstitions. Belief in magical and supernatural forces has always been and remains part of our lives. A vivid example of a widespread superstition is the careful use of the word last, instead preferring extreme or final. By the way, we're very curious to know, do you believe in superstitions? And if so, which ones? Share in the comments. The term superstitions or misconceptions carries a negative connotation, often associated with societies at primitive stages of development. However, there's another explanation for the prevalence of superstitions in Ukrainian folk beliefs, unrelated to the level of societal consciousness. Professor J.R.R. Tolkien, author of the world-famous The Lord of the Rings, once said that if you reflect on any great story that truly captivates people and holds their attention for a long time, it is almost always about one thing: death and its inevitability. Superstitions in Ukrainian traditional culture are part of a larger story tied to the fear of death. Over centuries, Ukrainian society has repeatedly experienced the collective threat of death. Raids by Pechenegs and Polovtsi, the Mongol Tatar invasion, regular military conflicts, life under foreign oppression, repressions, famines, 2 world wars, and the Chernobyl disaster. All this fostered a significant collective fear of death, and ancient beliefs gave this fear a certain symbolic form. Today, during the ongoing war with Russia, we are also understandably inclined towards superstitions. A significant portion of society faces the experience of death daily, and the stronger this experience, the greater the belief in supernatural forces. Researchers from the Department of Folkloristics at Kyiv's Shevchenko University conducted an interesting survey on soldiers' attitudes toward omens. Of the dozens surveyed, only 2 respondents claimed to believe in nothing. Moreover, participants in combat shared experiences where omens came true. Many folk beliefs, manifested in traditions, folklore rituals, or superstitions, are found throughout Ukraine. For example, belief in witches and the power of the evil eye, harm or illness caused by a malevolent glance, is universal. Wedding and funeral traditions are also shared across Ukraine, though they may have regional variations. Of course, there are also unique phenomena. For instance, the moon creature Chuhaister is known only in the Carpathians, the later miners. Mythology character Shubin is specific to Donbass, and the cult of the wolf, tied to totemism, persisted longest in Policia, where people still say, "I am the wolf," when encountering a wolf to align with the totemic deity. In each episode of this project, we provide information about scholarly works and research considered sources of knowledge about Ukrainian folklore. Since folk beliefs are, as we mentioned, a component of various folklore works, you'll learn about most sources in future episodes. In this series, we'll highlight just 3 sources, 2 major ethnographic studies, and 1 scholarly work. First, the works of Pavlo Chabinsky's ethnographic statistical expedition to the Western Russian region, likely the most extensive ethnographic study conducted in the 19th century on Ukrainian lands within the Russian Empire. Second, Volodymyr Shukevich's 5-volume ethnographic study, Hutzulshina, an equally comprehensive study of territories then part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Finally, the third source is Ivan Ohienko's scholarly work, Pre-Christian Beliefs of the Ukrainian People, mentioned earlier. This book is a unique case where an Orthodox clergyman discusses ancient Ukrainian beliefs with the impartiality of a true scholar. The goal of our project is not only to introduce you to the magical world of Ukrainian folklore, but also to the researchers who study it professionally. In each episode, we highlight the scholars who consulted us and whom you can involve in projects related to cultural diplomacy, promoting Ukrainian folklore heritage, or other initiatives requiring expert folklorist or ethnographer opinions. In this episode, we present Volodymyr Haleychuk, Doctor of Historical Sciences, ethnologist, and professor at the Department of Ethnology, Faculty of History at Lviv's Ivan Franko National University. Volodymyr Vasilievich's research interests include traditional Ukrainian spiritual culture, particularly worldview concepts, demonology, calendar and funeral memorial rituals. He is the author of the books Ukrainian Mythology and Traditional Ukrainian Demonological Concepts of Household Spirits. Friends, did you enjoy this episode? What new insights did you gain? Share in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like this video so more people can learn about it. Let's promote the magical world of Ukrainian folklore together.